What's going on, my friends? Dr. Bruce back in the house here for another installment of the Solopreneur Movement podcast. And this week's session is all about what is the cost of waiting. In business and in sales, we call that opportunity cost, right? So there is an opportunity cost for you as a salesperson. The longer that you spend on a prospect and you cannot get them to close or to make a final decision, that's an opportunity cost, right? It costs you time, it costs you energy, it costs you resources, right? Well, it's the same thing for the consumer. The longer that they spend agonizing over a buying decision, and I'm not making lightly, right? A lot of people I coach are in housing and banking and finance, and these are big decisions. But there's a law of diminishing return when you have the same conversations and the same thought processes and the same paralysis by analysis year after year after year. Right? So there is a cost of doing business. There's an opportunity cost both for the consumer and there's an opportunity cost for you as the actual business owner. So every single week I come into your life as a solopreneur talking about the Solopreneur Movement podcast. We talk about sales, we talk about service, we talk about mindset, and we talk about marketing. And so that's what we're talking through here today. We're talking about what is the mindset, what is the sales tactics for you and your pitch and your ability to influence the consumer. Now, notice I didn't use the word persuade. I believe in influencing other people's decisions by simply providing facts. There are people out there that make decisions based on logic, and then there are people out there who make decisions based on emotions. And it's your job, your duty as a sales professional to really figure out what is the way that this person is making this decision and what is really holding them back from making this informed decision, right? There's an expression out there in sales. It's called buyers are liars. And I think that's a little bit harsh, right? Because a lot of people, when it comes to making decisions, myself included, right? If I'm making a big decision, then, I really want to make sure that I feel good about the decision. I want to make sure that maybe feel like I'm getting a good deal. I'm not getting taken advantage of. This is not going to be something that I regret immediately, right? So instead of thinking about buyers are liars, a better interpretation of this concept would be, I'm not comfortable telling you the real reason why I'm hesitating to make this decision. That's really what it comes down to. Is we need to really get down to the nuts and bolts of why are you not wanting to pull the trigger? We've been having this same conversation for a month. We've been having the same conversation for 6 months. We've been having this same conversation for years, right? Why do you not really want to make this decision right now? Why are you not ready to pull the trigger? All right. And I can tell you guys, selling a coaching service and selling a CRM service now to banks and credit unions, I go through longer sales cycles than I've ever been through in my entire sales profession. And a lot of the times I just want to know what is the real reason why you're not wanting to pull the trigger. And then from there, again, is it opportunity costs? A lot of the times it really is an opportunity cost for them to not say yes today and to hold off. And I think about this for my mortgage friends, right? I love this stat, this poll that I heard a couple weeks ago. Back in 2020, over 40% of consumers said that they didn't feel like now was a good time to buy. This is back when rates were 2.9%. Well, fast forward now today, rates are almost 7%, right? Depending on the time that I'm saying this. And the property values based on back then till now, 5 years later, have increased nearly 50%, right? I'm sure a lot of people would love that 2.9% and that increased property value of over 50%. But yet we're having these same conversations now with a lot of these, first-time home buyers. And so the whole expression of when was the best time to buy 5 years ago, right? Last year. When's the second best time to buy is today. And so that's what we're talking through, but it's not our job to persuade them. It's not our job to convince the consumer. It's simply our job to educate them. It's simply our job to say, hey, this is what I believe, and this is why I believe it based on my X amount of years of experience, based on the hundreds of consumers that I've helped just like you throughout my career, this is what I typically would recommend that you do. All right. And then it comes down to, if they're going to make a decision and they're going to go with you, then they know you, like you, trust you, and respect you. If they don't, then at a certain point, again, it's an opportunity cost for them and it's an opportunity cost for you to continue to go back to this same person and try to convince them. Now, here's the challenge for us in sales is we want to win. We like to win. We're competitive, all right? But we also want to do the right thing for our consumers. And when we know that we're just as good or better than anybody else out there, and there are people out there in your business that are transactional that will take advantage of this person, then we want to protect them from these other different types of people. But at the end of the day, they have to want to protect themselves, right? They have to want to be protected at the end of the day. And so that's really what we're talking through today is when you're looking at like, what is opportunity cost? What is the cost of waiting? All right. So when you actually just break down, like, what is opportunity cost? Like, what is the actual, literal definition of opportunity cost is any time, energy, or resources that is spent not making a buying decision, not moving forward with a decision that is the right decision to make, right? So in sales, if you spend 5 hours chasing a prospect who never buys, the opportunity cost is the fact that, how many other meaningful conversations did you lose because you were trying to convince this person that didn't fit your filter, that you probably knew wasn't going to buy, that wasn't a motivated buyer, versus you spending that time somewhere else, right? And then, of course, on the consumer side for the actual buyers, if a consumer delays a purchase for a better deal, right? Again, I want to wait for that perfect home. I want to wait for the housing, market to crash. I want to wait for whatever list of variables, but the reality is that those variables probably aren't going to happen, right? So our coaching for our friends that work, for financial services, for banking and housing is, once again, like, yes, you can try to time the market, but there is no silver bullet at the end of the day, right? However long you've been doing this for, based on my experience, the best time to buy is typically when you can buy, when you can afford to buy, when you're financially stable, when you're checking all these boxes, then yes, let's move forward. Again, rates could change tomorrow, absolutely, but we don't have a crystal ball, right? So the best time is when you are financially ready and it makes sense for your decision, right? In your exact situation. So these are conversations I know that a lot of you are having, or that a lot of you have as sales people, right? Again, my mortgage friends that are out there right now, for the last 1,000 days plus, you've been having the same mindset, the same habits, the same behaviors. You wake up every single day and you want to know where rates are at today, and you wake up and you want to know what the mortgage what the housing market's doing. You want to know what's going on in the real world markets that are going on out there in the finance, right? And how that impacts you. And the reality is things really haven't changed all that much over the last 3+ years. But yet this is how you're living every single day, rather than the mindset. And this is where I want to truly change your life today going forward. The mindset that you should have and the methodology that you should have today going forward should always be when a consumer comes to you for advice, right? Whether you're getting them to do a pre-qual, whether you're getting them to fill in an actual application, the advice should always be the same. If you can afford to buy right now and it makes sense for your situation, then you should buy, right? If you're trying to game the market and you're trying to, when is the housing market going to crash? When is the next recession happening? When are rates dropping down below 5.5%, when the reality is the rates have only dropped down below 5.5% a handful of time, right, over the past 50+ years. And that typically only happens when there's some type of crisis that's happening, whether it's a COVID or something like that, right? And so that's really where I'm just trying to provide the most simple path forward for you as a salesperson, as a business owner going forward. When is the best time to buy? It's not trying to game the market, right? It's not trying to do all these other things that people are doing. A lot of times people need validation. They need affirmation. And that is your job. to say, hey, you know what, based on my X years of amount of experience, could you wait for a longer rate? Sure, you could. But typically what happens when that lower rate does come, that opens up hundreds of thousands of buyers now that are going to enter the market. And that really is going to meaning that the rates are going to increase, or it should be the property values are going to increase as well, right? So the buyer power has gone. So, these are conversations that I know a lot of us are having. If you work in sales for any extended period of time, the let me think about it, is the timing right, all that kind of stuff. You need to be the expert. You need to lead with value. You need to have something to say within that conversation that doesn't persuade them. But if you lead with the heart of a teacher approach, then you can influence other people's decisions that are out there. Okay. So my final thought process for you as a salesperson, whether you work in housing, banking, insurance, or finance, is, again, it's not your job to pressure. It's your job to protect them from other people, or really from other decisions that they're not making. Your role isn't to close them, it's to coach them, right? The real value isn't through persuasion, it's through perspective. It's a whole lot easier to sell to a want versus to a need, right? You have to get them to want something. And so that's really what we're talking through here. There's an opportunity cost for the buyer, but for you, there's also an opportunity cost as a salesperson. The more time that you're trying to spend with the wrong people, trying to convince them that you know what you're talking about, if they don't know you, like you, trust you, respect you, then it's time to move on and give your time, energy, resources to other people who do truly value what you bring to the equation, right? Because the best time to act was 5 years ago. The best time to act was a year ago. When's the next best time? Today, right now. There's great value in momentum. There's great value in making a decision. Deciding on something really just means to kill off. And I know there's been a lot of times in my career, in my life, where I just needed to make a decision and move on from there, rather than having paralysis by analysis, rather than by agonizing over that one decision and having the same conversations a month from now that I'm having right now, right? So if you're a credit union friend of mine or a community bank friend of mine and you've been wanting to sign up for a mortgage CRM, right? Imagine already having this in place 90 days ago or a year ago or 3 years ago, right? And so that's really what you're thinking about. Well, okay, well, we haven't done it yet. So, therefore we're going to keep kicking that can down the road. And yet we're having the same conversations again and again and again. And there is great power in taking action. So as always, I appreciate you guys hopping on here. And I do hope that I've either given you something to think about as a salesperson, or I provided some type of solution for you the next time you have this conversation of, let me think about it. And if you're in mortgage, the let me think about it conversation really comes down to just providing the facts, right? Historically speaking, buying a home is a good decision, right? And the reality is, the longer that we wait, the more variables that can change and the more equity that we've lost in that buying decision and that buying power. So go out there and make it a great week, and continue to go out there and don't persuade, but protect, right? Don't close, but coach. Lead with that heart of a teacher approach. And at the end of the day, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? As long as you keep adding value to other people's lives.